I first met in person with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Mary had initially agreed, since I was not a newsman but rather an amateur writer gathering information for a few early college assignments and, if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction. We scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business, but at the last moment Mary changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour, I sat with Terrence as we camped outside the bedroom door. I listened and taking notes while he attempted fruitlessly to calm his wife. The things Mary said made little sense, but fit into the pattern I was expecting. Though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice that she was crying, and more often not her objections to speaking with me centered around an incoherent diatribe in her dreams, her nightmares. Terrence apologized profusely when we ceased the exercise, and I did my best to take it in stride. Recall that I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time, I could perhaps find another similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Mary E. was the SysOp for a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992 when she first encountered Smile.jpg, and her life changed forever. Her and Terrence had been married for only 5 months. Mary was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image when it was posted as a hyperlink on the BBS, though she is the only one who had spoken openly about the experience. The rest have remained anonymous, or perhaps died. In 2005, when I was only in 10th grade, Smile.jpg was first brought to my attention by a begorging interest in web-based phenomena. Mary was the most often cited victim, as was sometimes referred to as Smile.dog, the being Smile.jpg is reputed to display. What caught my interest, other than the obvious macabre elements of the cyber legend and my proclivity towards such things, there was a sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people don't believe it even exists other than as a rumor or hoax. It is unique because, through the entire phenomenon centers on a picture file. That file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly many photo-manipulated simulacra litter the web, showing up at most frequency on sites such as the image board 4chan, particularly the X-focused paranormal subboard. It is suspected that these are fakes because they do not have the effect the true Smile.jpg is believed to have, namely sudden onset of temporal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purported reaction for the viewer is one of the reasons that phantom-like Smile.jpg is regarded with such disdain, since it is patently absurd, though depending on whom you ask, the reluctance to acknowledge Smile.jpg's existence might be just as much out of fear as it is out of disbelief. Neither Smile.jpg nor smile.dog is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though the website features articles on such other, perhaps more scandalous shock sites, such as the Gotsy, hello.jpg, and Two Girls One Cup. Any attempt to create a page pertaining to Smile.jpg is similarly deleted by any of the encyclopedia's many admins. Encounters with Smile.jpg are the stuff of internet legend. Mary E.'s story is not unique. They are unverified rumors of Smile.jpg showing up in the early days of Unsenate, and even one persistent tale that in 2002 a hacker flooded the forums of humor and satire websites Something Awful with a deluge of Smile.dog pictures, rendering almost the forum's user at the time epileptic. It is also said that the mid to late 90s that Smile.jpg circulated on Usenet as an attachment of a chain email with a subject like "Smile, God loves you." Yet despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, there are very few people who would admit to having experienced any of them, and no trace of the file or any link has ever been discovered. Those who claim to have seen Smile.jpg often weakly joke that they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo: a dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of the camera, sits in a dim room, only the background detail visible being a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog, or dog creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they have claimed to have seen. The muzzle of the beast is reputedly split in a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white, very straight, and very sharp, and very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims, who claim to have seen the picture endlessly, repeatedly in their mind's eye during the time that they, in reality, are having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminably, often while the victims sleep, resulting in very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some cases it is more effective than others. Mary E., I assumed, was not on effective medication. That was why, after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend-oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of a supposed victim of Smile.jpg who felt more interested in talking about his experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at the length I forgot completely about my pursuits, since I had begun my freshman year of college and was quite busy. Mary contacted me via email, however, near the beginning of March 2008. To Jim L. From Mary E. Subject: Last summer's interview. Dear Mr. L., I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope that you understand that it was at no fault of yours, but rather my own problems had led me to act out as I did. I realize that I could have handled the situation much more decorously. However, I hope that you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 15 years I have been haunted by Smile.jpg. Smile.dog comes to me in my sleep every night. I know that sounds silly, but it is true. There is an ineffable quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that makes them completely unlike the real dreams I have ever had. I do not move and I do not speak. I simply look ahead, and the only thing ahead of me is the scene from that horrible picture. I see the beckoning hand, and I see Smile.dog. It talks to me. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker, I could even show it to Terrence, as much as the idea disgusted me. But what would happen then? Well, if Smile.dog kept its word, I could sleep. Yet, if it lied, what would I do? And who is to say that something worse would not come for me if I did not do as the creature asked? So I did nothing for 15 years, though I kept the diskette hidden among my things. Every night for 15 years, Smile.dog has come to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years I have stood strong, though there have been hard times. Many of my fellow victims on the BBS board where I first encountered Smile.jpg stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They are the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you will forgive me, Mr. L., but last summer when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near the breaking point. I did not care if Smile.dog was lying or not. I wanted it to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with, and I thought I would not feel sorrow when you took the diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing. I was plotting to ruin your life. I could not stand the thought, and in fact, I still cannot. I am ashamed, Mr. L., and I hope that this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of Smile.jpg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly more depraved, someone who will not hesitate to follow Smile.dog's orders. Stop while you are still whole. Sincerely, Mary E. Terrence contacted me later that month with the news that his wife had killed herself. While cleaning up the various things she left behind, closing email accounts and the like, he happened upon the above message. When he was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me to listen to his wife's advice. He found the diskette. He revealed and burnt it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that most disturbed him, however, was how the diskette had hissed as it melted, like some sort of animal, he said. I will admit that I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this. At first, I thought perhaps it was a joke, with a couple belatedly playing with the situation in order to get a rise out of me. But a quick check of several Chicago's newspapers' online obituaries, however, proved that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that, for at least a time, I would not further purpose the subject of Smile.jpg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year after I'd returned from my disastrous interview with Mary E., I received another email. To JML, from El Zahir 82, subject Smile. Hello, I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you're interested in Smile.dog. I have saw it. It is not as bad as everyone says, and I have sent it to you here, just spreading the word. The final line chilled me to the bone. According to the email client, there was one file attachment called, naturally, Smile.jpg. I considered downloading it for some time. It was most likely a fake, I imagined, and even if it weren't, I never were wholly convinced of Smile.jpg's particular powers. Mary E.'s account had shaken me, yes, but they were probably mentally unstable, and she was probably mentally unbalanced anyways. After all, how could a single image do what Smile.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with only the power of the eye? As if such things were patently absurd, then why did the legend exist at all? If I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, and if Mary turned out to be correct, if Smile.dog came to me in my dreams demanding I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live my life as Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I died? Or would I simply spread the word, eager to put it to rest? And if I chose the latter route, how could I do it? Whom would I burden in turn? When I went through with my early intention to write a short article about Smile.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence, and anyone who read that article, anyone who took interest, would be affected. And, even assuming the Smile.jpg attached to the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that manner?